Okay, Growing Your Own Money podcast, part 2, or this could be part 5, or this could be part 8.
Part 2. Part 2.
All right.
Back with Jack.
Back with Jack Beaumont, who we were speaking to previously around his Olympic exploits. Former Olympian? Do we call you a former Olympian?
No, actually, you don't call me that.
How do they express it?
We get these nice letters from the Olympic Association every now and then that says, I don't know, it was 5 years since the opening ceremony in Rio, and it says once an Olympian, always an Olympian.
That's
so that's what
like Boy Scouts, isn't it?
Yeah. Boy Scout, always a Boy Scout. So it's always an Olympian, and you're always a silver medal winner.
Yes, honestly, couldn't be more delighted about it.
Amazing achievement.
Definitely.
Yeah, so this kind of next section is just to explore and explain a little bit about what you're doing now, Jack.
Yeah.
I know you're based down in Henley and you're working for an organisation. You joined the financial services industry, more specifically the investment management industry.
Yeah.
And you're working for an organisation called Invesco.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about them, you, and the role that you've now got there.
Yeah, so Invesco is a huge investment management company, a global company. We have presence in 26 countries around the world and manage, I think, $1.7 trillion of people's money around the world. So huge amount. We have about 800 investment funds around the world, which people can invest in to help grow their money.
Yeah.
So we invest in stocks, in bonds, in alternatives, and hopefully we can take people's money, put it to work for a bit, and give them back a bit more when they want it. And that's our aim as a company. Yeah. My job, I work in the sales team, and I work as a sort of a link between our investment managers and financial advisors in the UK. So my job is to make sure that advisors get the information they need about our products. Maybe if they're looking at ours and trying to decide what might be useful, I can help them point them in the right direction. But really my job is a relationship between financial advisors who are helping their clients grow money and our big investment team, and making sure people get the stuff they need when they need it.
And how's business at the minute, generally?
Yeah, business is good. I think, recently markets have been up.
Yeah.
I think that people feel more confident investing their money again now. There's been a period of sort of high inflation and high interest rates and all of that, where people have gone, I can get good returns in a bank.
Yeah.
But now those returns are starting to get a little bit less interesting, and the case for the sort of active management of funds is really coming back. So people, we're starting to see good flows into our funds, and I think across the board performance is pretty good.
Yeah.
We're lucky at Invesco that we have sort of skin in every game. We invest in all asset classes. Yeah. So whereas some companies might just have a bit of one thing, we really do play in all the games. So that's a nice thing. So there's nearly always, there's always going to be something worth looking at with us. Yeah.
And your role specifically, what's your title?
My title is sales account manager.
Yeah.
And
what area are you covering?
Well, I cover the East Midlands.
Yeah.
But East Midlands is not what you would call East Midlands. Most people wouldn't call what I do the East Midlands. It covers everything from Essex to Hull, really, around including sort of Yorkshire and
redrawn the map,
all of sort of East Anglia, Hertfordshire, Buckinghamshire. There's quite a big space, and at the moment also looking after the southwest region too.
Yeah.
But it's great because I have a real privilege. There's not that many people in my company of 8,000 of us around the world who get to really hear the real investment stories.
Yeah.
So in my day-to-day, I speak to financial advisors or paraplanners or people working at IFA firms who really are advising people on what to do with their money for whatever reason. So I get to hear, of course I don't know who these people are, but I hear about Mr. and Mrs. Smith who want build a new conservatory or want to be able to plan on their retirement so that they can go on a cruise each year but also leave some money for their kids, or whatever people are saving for. I hear about the real applications of our funds, not just it's gone up or down this much. I know why people are using it, because when there's a fund that might have a few £billion in it, it's not just a few £billion, it's a few £billion made up of 20, 30, 50, 100, £1,000 of real people's money and their livelihoods. So it's for me, it's a real pleasure to get to hear about it.
Brings it to life.
Exactly. And that's what your day-to-day must really be. But, it could be easy for us to take a step back and just look at spreadsheets and lines on a chart that tell a story, but they don't tell really what the story is.
Yeah. You're part of the solution, aren't you?
Exactly.
You know, the advisor and the investment manager, the funds, it's all about delivering that, where they're trying to get to. Where are you now? Where are you trying to get to? And what are you trying to do with your money? And that's you're forming part of that solution, which is brilliant.
Exactly. And the fund managers, they have a huge responsibility too, because they're looking after thousands of people's livelihoods and pensions and whatever in there. And they like to hear a bit about what's going on in the advice world and what's going on, what are people feeling, what are people thinking about, because for them it's interesting. They want to know and they care.
Good. And post-Olympics, other than the kind of connection with Henley, which we know Invesco have an office down in Henley, you trained and you've got your rowing club based in Henley. Other than that, or is that the key reason? How did you kind of finish up at Invesco?
That's absolutely the key reason. So Invesco sponsor a bunch of things in Henley. They sponsor the cricket club, the rugby club, the Christmas tree, whatever. There's a lot of Invesco. It's the biggest employer by far because Henley is a small town. There's I think 800 people in theory are based in the Henley office. Now I hardly ever see them there. But I'm hardly in the office, and when I am, it seems like no one's there. But Invesco used to sponsor my rowing club, and while I was captain of the rowing club, they would often ask if I would come and present either for their employees or for some of their clients at different events. So I would either go into the office in Henley as a rower and talk to them a bit about sort of what we did, kind of thanks for the sponsorship and sort of what the impact they're having. And then when I stopped rowing, they actually hired me to go to a couple of their IFA events. So I went to something in Knutsford, I went to something at Mercedes-Benz World, and I did an event for them in Henley as well. And when after a few months after that had all finished, a job came up, and one of the guys got in touch and said, "Jack, we think you should think about applying." I said, "Well, it seems a bit out of reach for me." I was working at the time in a small tech startup, in a sales job, but not at such a big company as Invesco, and I felt a bit of sort of imposter syndrome applying for the job, especially because I didn't really have a background in investment management either, or in economics or anything like that. So I got convinced to apply. I did a lot of preparation for the interviewing, and I was really happy to get the job.
Yeah, brilliant. And what do you feel you've taken from the whole experience? Let's call it the Olympic experience. You gave up an amazing amount of your time and your life, really, to achieve what you achieved at Tokyo. But there was all of that along the way. What kind of analogies, sporting analogies, James and I are always interested in, but what do you think you've taken that you've learned from that into a business like Invesco?
I think one thing is, when we're athletes, we have to do really well. It's our job. Like, everything we're doing is to try and be the best of the best. We're not just trying to be all right. We're trying to really be the best in the world. So when we used to wake up in the morning, the sort of idea me and my teammates would have is, by the time we wake up, Australia and New Zealand have finished their training for the day. China are probably just finishing off. Then we're going to do it. And we need to do it better than USA and Canada are going to do it later. So it was really maintaining high standards for ourselves. And now when I'm at work, of course, I don't know if I'm ever going to quite have the same absolute care about it as I did about rowing, which was really what I lived and breathed for 24 hours a day. I still think if I'm going to do something, why wouldn't I do it really, really well? And that's something I try and think. And of course, we have competitors too. We have our company, but I'm very aware that there are probably 30 versions of me going around the country for different companies trying to get business as well. And I'm not hugely competitive with them and trying to outdo them, but I do think, if I'm doing a really good job at my job, hopefully people will think well about me and think well about my company and want to use us more. Now, I think that's one thing. What else do I think from sport? Okay, I am competitive, right? So within our team, we have about 9 of us in the sales team around the UK that do similar jobs. And we don't have individual targets of you must get this much, you must get that much, but we're all kind of a bit aware of how much time people are spending with clients, how much time people are on the phone or doing this. And if you search for it, we do have a dashboard of
Right.
who's made the most calls, who's done it.
Yeah.
And I always want to be at the top of that kind of
Yeah,
stuff,
good.
because if there's going to be a ranking, well,
Yeah.
I'm used to trying to be at the top. Why wouldn't you? So that I get competitive a little bit within our team of how can we be the best. I mentioned something when we spoke about rowing, saying, can you be the best version of yourself?
Yes.
But then the worst of the team. I think I don't want to be the worst in the team, but
No,
I do.
sure.
I wouldn't be upset if I think I'm doing a good job and everyone else is doing better, because then it means that we're a strong team.
As a team collectively, you're doing well. What habits do you think you've taken? You talked about your habits that you created and the decisions that you made that effectively formed some really positive habits. Are there any things like that you've taken into being in industry and in business?
What I try and do is plan and follow up really well. So when we were rowing, every single day we'd go and we'd train 3 times, but before and after each session. So before each session, we'd have a quick discussion of what are we really trying to do here and why, how are we going to do it. We would do it, we'd be evaluating whilst doing it, sort of a bit of immediate feedback of, is this right? And afterwards we'd debrief it and plan for the next day.
Okay.
Always. We would never do a session without a briefing and a debrief, because we wanted to make sure we made exact best use of it. And now I guess my whole day I try and do that. So on a typical day, if I'm in the office, I will get in and the first things I'll do is all of my sort of admin bits, get any emails I need to get sent. I'll start with the end of the last day. The end of Monday, I'll be there with writing my to-do list for Tuesday morning. What are the things I want to do before I get on the phone to anyone or before I get in my car anywhere? Is send this, respond to that, deal with that spreadsheet, whatever things, admin-y things, so that I can start the day nicely. And then on Tuesday morning, I'm there, I've got this to-do list, tick, 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 tick. It's very nice to have I think it's very nice to have I'm quite task-driven, so I can cross those off, and it feels good. Yeah. And then from sort of 9 o'clock, when the advisors might be palatable to hearing from us, then I'm not spending my time doing the admin things that during the time where actually our core sort of business hours where we might be having interaction. And then at the end of the day, it's what have I not managed to do, or what follow-up have I got from today that I need to do? I either do it then or write it sort of tomorrow morning's to-do list. And I think that's quite a nice way to do the day, because I know that very well that people aren't there waiting for me to call them. I know they're busy doing their job. Yeah. I really don't want to be seen as a pushy or an annoying salesperson. That's the last thing I want to be. Of course, I do want people to use more of our products. That's my job. But I think a holistic and better relationship approach is the best way to do that. So that's sort of my thing. So I thought, how can I gradually do it? But the other thing in rowing, I had to communicate with so many people. You didn't choose who you rowed with, really. The coaches chose that for you. You were all very competitive people and very high performing people, but you weren't all exactly the same. You had similar traits in some places, but huge different personality skews. And we had to get quite used to how to get the best out of each other and how to communicate with each other. And I speak to so many different people, and they might not necessarily be my best choice of best friend sometimes, but I'll meet with them and have a good conversation and try and understand what they need. So I think one thing I learned when I was rowing was sort of what makes people tick, or how to get something, understand what people care about, or work well with them. And what I try to do when I'm meeting with different advisors is learn, what is important to you, what is important to your business, what do you like, what do you not like, how do you want to interact with me, what's good for and let them tell me how to do my job. I think that's if I can hear from you, Dean, how often would it be useful to you to hear from me? What do you need? What would be bad? What would be annoying? I think that's the sort of good thing. So you can just go and try and then do a good job. You've
taken some of the skills, haven't you, around communication and adapting in different environments into a business environment, which is crucial in terms of success. Because if you can develop good relationships with people that you wouldn't ordinarily come across or develop a relationship with, but if you can adapt and you can be flexible and nimble, that can only help contribute to the success.
I think another thing is in a sales job is you're going to get more no's and yeses, right, with things, and that's just it.
Yeah.
And that's the same with most things.
Yeah.
Even fund managers, they'll talk about trying to get if they can get 55% of their decisions right, they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Right, because then and that means you're getting 45% not.
Yeah.
Right, and for me, it's like I'm very used to it to training in a way that really felt a lot of the time like I wasn't progressing.
Yeah.
It felt like blind faith and just being like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll keep doing this because I know I'm doing the right stuff, even though I can't see the outcome from it right now. And I think a lot of the time for me, it's some days I'll spend the day just calling people that aren't expecting my call, and that is it's quite a difficult thing because you know when you're busy doing your job, if someone's to call you up, you'll be like, oh, I'm busy. You get them all the time on your mobile, like someone your phone network's trying to upsell you on a contract, that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I know that from my side, I only have good intentions of things that we think might be able to help, but I also know they're busy. And also I'm also aware that there's, again, very many versions of me that are trying to call them up probably more regularly than I am as well. And then, so for me, I try and take the step back and remember like how it used to be when I was rowing, and sort of every day doesn't need to, you're not always going to feel like you've won something at the end of each day.
Yeah.
And even on a more sort of granular level, not every phone call is going to feel like a very good one. But that doesn't mean that the next person you call won't be.
Yeah.
And the thing that's a little bit hard to get your head around is you might have a list of people that you've once talked to about something specific that day. The second one might never have even met the first person. That just because the first person didn't want to speak to you doesn't mean the second one doesn't, doesn't mean the third one doesn't, but it's quite hard to get your head around that. So you need to just kind of think, well, cross that off, it's a new day. Cross that off, it's a new day.
Yeah. And you're still making progress.
Well, exactly, And the other thing is that no is actually the second best answer.
Yeah.
Like yes is great. Okay, it's
Still
great. We'd
feedback,
love to speak to you. Or no, actually, we're not particularly interested in this right now. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because it means that we're not then going to waste our time on something that's not useful for either of us.
And transferring that kind of high performance sense, how are you measuring success now for yourself?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm exactly like quantifying measuring success, but for me it's because I've been doing this job for 2 years, and I know it takes a long time to develop a good trusting relationship with people, and for me it's how much do I feel like I'm known and recognised and trusted in the region. How much, when people have a question or an issue, are they calling me? And that's quite a nice thing. The moment when people go, oh Jack, a client's asked about this, can you get me something? That's when I'm like, okay, that person sees me as a useful asset, because what I want to be able to do is become not part of someone's business, but someone that they go to and they go, wow,
a link.
And people think, what guys, what do you think about this? Let's ask Jack, he'll be able to get us something. And that's what I want to be able to do. So to me, success is that you're the person that people call on, because then probably when they are reviewing a holding, or reviewing an asset class, or have a new client that wants something, they might go, oh Jack, what do you guys have on this? And that's where I'm trying to get to. In terms of measuring things, the things I really actually measure are how many days am I spending out of the office? How many nights am I spending away? How many phone calls am I making a week or month? How many of those are leading to an opportunity? Of course, I measure those things, but just to keep track of, really, make sure I'm doing enough activity. The problem with the nights away in the hotel is I'd rather there were fewer, but I would rather the days away are good. But it's just part of the job. I don't live close to a lot of places I go to, so if I'm going to drive up to Harrogate, I'm probably going to spend a few days in Yorkshire. It's kind of like that.
And you're making positive routes, aren't you? So you're kind of planning your routes as efficiently as possible.
Well, exactly that, and I think
it's really important.
And I think that's a big thing of the job, and I think it's a big thing when we're sports people too. It's making good use of your time. Not so much when I was just a professional rower, but before that, I did go to university as well, and I went part time. So I studied. I'd already decided I was all in on rowing. I had my gap year, and then I thought, well, I should probably get a degree. I studied at the University of London, but I did my course at one of the colleges called Birkbeck. They teach at night time, so everything's between 6 and 9 p.m. So my days were pretty busy. I'd leave the house at 7, go training all day till 4, then drive into London, spend 3 hours at university, and drive home, be back by like 11. you had to really manage your time well. And like it was, and most sports people, apart from once they're at the very, very, very top end, where they've probably gone just fully professional, they'll have had a period like that. Where, and I think it makes you realise, like now I look back and think, how on earth did I do that? Like 7 till 11, pretty much non-stop. But the fact is, I know I can. So when there are busy times in work, okay, I don't want many days where I'm working like that late, but you can do it if you need to. And but it also makes me realise, like, I can fit lots of things into the day if I plan them well.
It makes us realise, doesn't it, just what capacity we do have as individuals, and just how far reaching we can get.
Well, like Jack said earlier, you can always go further than you think you can go. So completely with that. What about the rowing? Are you still doing rowing?
I'm a fair weather rower now. So
no tailwinds.
Exactly. I like going rowing. I won't go rowing if it's like, well, firstly, I'll just go when I can. Like, I'm not. No one's telling me I've got to go and do this. I don't like have to do the super hard sessions anymore. The ones I didn't like doing, they're gone now. But I still like getting out on a boat. It's really fun. I like doing it. So I still like competing a little bit. So this year I got a bunch of my old mates and we entered Henley Regatta. In a category that we used to walk to the finish line, winning, and we lost in the semi-finals, which was actually really good. Like no one could believe that we made it to the semi-finals. They were like, they called us like the 4 dad bods. Then we were there like, still got to semi-finals. We were like, you're laughing at us.
But what we can still do.
We can still do it. I still row a bit. I still watch it. So I've been out went to Switzerland earlier in the year and to Paris to go and watch the Olympics, to go and watch the team. I think I stopped at the right time. I stopped when I'd achieved what I wanted, but I was never fed up with it. Like some people, I had moments of being fed up with it, but some people, I think they quit and they go, right, I've given too much of my life to that sport, that's it. Whereas I still like it. Like I'd happily go on a holiday to wherever and go and watch the rowing team, or when it's on TV, I'll definitely be watching, and I'd definitely like to go and do it. It's great fun.
And you're mentoring now as well, Jack. So you're mentoring at your club, your local club?
So I mentor at Leander Club. So that's I mentioned.
Is that one-on-one or with a group? How does that work?
Whatever people want. So I do some group sessions, but mostly one-to-one. And it's a lot of it is actually just so mentoring the high performance athletes with their training and what how they're looking at their performances and stuff, and how they work with their coaches. But also some of the younger ones, they have just moved away from home for the first time, all this kind of stuff, trying to help them out a little bit. The thing with rowing is there's a lot of people from very privileged backgrounds, right? A lot of them have gone to private schools or boarding schools and stuff, and they don't know how to do anything. So there's a lot of kids will
first you make a cup of tea.
A lot of 18-year-olds will turn up at the club and they don't know how to do their laundry, they don't know how to and it's like, right, this is having to actually teach some of these people just normal life skills, which I thought was mental because I didn't go to any of those I just went to normal school and had a normal upbringing, but some of them they just have very different things. So some of it is just teaching them like, hey, this is normal, how to budget, how to actually teach people how to just live away from home. Any Olympians in the club at the minute, do you think? Any future Olympians? Definitely, definitely. I'm sure that's what is really interesting there, is like if you were to go around there, a lot of these people that just look like scruffy, oversized like late teenagers with really long limbs. You're going to see them on TV in a few years' time, and you'll go, "Hang on a minute, that was that real floppy haired kid."
Really exciting.
And then a few years' time, they are like Man Mountain and just incredibly good. So there will be.
Brilliant. Look forward to seeing it, don't we?
It'll be good.
Anything else, James, you want to ask?
I don't think there's anything much more. What about how you set your goals? Because obviously goals have been a big part in terms of like how you go. You said you always had something to aim for. Like you go, like you want it to be at the Olympics. You want it to be like a reserve rower. So how do you go about laying out those goals?
Okay, so my main goals at the moment typically are like I have my and then my work goals really. My main one that I feel most personally attached to right now. So we have some multi-asset products, multi-asset risk targeted ranges. I think as a company, we're a bit late to the party in building this kind of product. There's lots of incumbents that are huge, that household names, and we're not. And personally, I feel very invested in trying to get these to a good size. So I spend quite a lot of time working on those. They are very good, but we just need to get them a bit more well known.
Yeah.
They've doubled in size this year, which has been really cool, and I've worked really hard on that. But we need them to double and double and double again to really be as big as we want them to be. So that's my main goal. But the thing with goals is like, okay, that's the main goal, but you have to have little goals of how you're going to get there. And the little goals are the things like I've already spoke about, kind of like how many calls I'm making, how many good conversations, what am I doing, how can we be, and I in this industry, I feel like I've come into something that's a little bit old fashioned in how it does things. I try and think, how can I be a little bit different to the other business development people? And I don't know what they do, because I know what the people do in my company, but I don't know what the other companies all do. So we meet them a few times at industry events, but we don't really know how they act. But I always try and think, if I can be what I try and be is, can I be as helpful as possible, polite as possible, not pushy as possible, then hopefully it might not get the immediate reward, but I think over time we'll probably get more people using the products. Sure. I hope so. Because otherwise they'll like possibly like, hey, why are you not pushing? Because no one's buying this stuff.
But it's great to hear some of those. You know, you've not lost that passion in the same way. And I hear what you say about aiming for a medal at an Olympics is, you know, a really high bar. But you've still got the passion, hasn't it, for wanting to achieve, being involved in a positive business that has got good products, and you're applying those same principles. So here's the big goal, here are the small goals, celebrate success along the way, and enjoy it while we're going, while we're getting there.
And those are things that anyone can do, right? And
absolutely not.
Okay, I think if I look back, and the one thing I wish I'd done more is just enjoy the moment I'm in. Because it was always looking at forward goals and thinking, oh, I want to get here. I do wish, if I look back, because I look back now and think, how amazing was all that? Like some of the moments that were horrible at the time, even they were actually a privilege. They were a privilege to be able to do it, because other people would have given their arm to be able to be in those positions. And I think all of us, okay, whatever difficult situations we're sometimes in, probably there's bits of your life that you go, that's pretty good actually, isn't it? I've done well here, or this is nice, or I like this. And I think maybe we can all be a bit more grateful.
That's right. Yeah, it's important to have some gratitude in what we do. No question. Jack, it's been brilliant, absolutely fantastic having you.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You've been the first guest. Hopefully the first of many. On the Growing Your Own Money podcast.
We'll have to have a return date sometime.
Absolutely. And thanks again for bringing your silver medal. It's been an absolute privilege having you with us.
Thanks very much.
All the best.